Today we're here with Mr. James Penney at his home in Glencoe, Alabama, and we're going to talk about life on the Penney farm and his family and things that have to do with the farm and the outdoor classroom and so forth. So, Mr. Penney, tell me something about your family.
We were raised, our family lived at Oaks Bluff. Dad and Mom had an 87-acre farm, a cotton farm, and they had 4 children. I was the youngest, Carolyn's the oldest, then Martha, Millard, and then me. And I was the baby. And living on the farm, we spent a lot of time. They did. I was still just a small kid. Cotton farming and raising corn. I think we raised almost everything we ate. The only things I can remember that Dad bought was flour, sugar, and coffee beans, and we would grind the beans to make coffee. We raised our chickens, our eggs, our pork, our beef. We had milk cows, and we raised a lot of vegetables in the garden. And when we would butcher a hog in the wintertime, Mom would roll the sausage up in round balls and put them in fruit jars and seal them with paraffin wax on top, and then the lid. And then we would have sausage in the wintertime. And our hams, Dad would put them in a salt box and salt them down. Salt was a good preservative. And we would have ham throughout the winter and sausage.
Great.
And we did quite well. And we raised cotton. That was our primary crop. And I can remember when I started the school, we would always come home and go to the field, pick cotton. And during harvest time, the schools would let the students out early so they could go home and help their family harvest the crops. And I always remember picking cotton. When the sun almost went down, I could tell just before it went down when the Lone Ranger would come on the radio. And Dad would always let me go. And I would go home and turn that old radio on and listen to the Lone Ranger. And I guess I spent a lot of time in the woods. And we had 2 creeks that ran through the farm. And I spent a lot of time, spare time that I had in the woods, fishing, hunting. I didn't have a gun. I had a slingshot.
Oh,
And
fun.
I would hunt those woods and those pine thickets, and I'd find rabbits sitting in the bed. And I'd get a rabbit with that slingshot. And Mom was always tickled to see me come up that hill with a rabbit. She would skin it, and then we would have fried rabbit and biscuits and gravy.
Whoa! How did she season the fried rabbit? Salt, pepper. What? How did it fried with salt and pepper? Anything else?
Yeah, they were good. And occasionally, when I was lucky enough, I'd get a squirrel, and we'd have fried squirrel.
Well, I must tell you, I've never eaten fried rabbit or fried squirrel, so we don't know what we're missing today.
Well, that was good. And I had made some rabbit traps, and I had them spaced around different areas of the farm. And I'd check those in the mornings, and sometimes I'd have maybe a couple of rabbits in the trap. And I spent a lot of time fishing on the creek and caught some pretty good fish. We'd have fish fry occasionally. And
So where was the second creek? Because I only know about the first one.
the other one was a lot smaller, and it was over to the left. It was
I know.
what we would call just a branch.
I think I know where that is, but it's all grown up over there now.
It's all
And
grown up.
okay, all right. I think I know where you mean.
But in that creek dries up a lot now. There's no water in it in hot summertime.
Yes.
But back then, there'd still be water holes in it. It would dry up a lot, but it never did go completely dry.
Okay.
And when we pick cotton, we get a load of cotton on the wagon. And one day I remember we were picking cotton late in the afternoon, and it looked like it was going to come a storm. Got real black lightning, cloud, and thunder back in the distance. And we had the wagon almost full of cotton. And Dad says, James, said, you better carry that load of cotton to the barn and put it under the hull of the barn where it won't get wet.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to turn the wagon around. So I went around and went over a terrace row and turned over.
Oh, no.
I jumped off when the wagon turned over. Well, Dad unhitched the mules and he had a rig. He hooked up, pulled it right back up on its wheels.
Oh, my.
And didn't lose very much cotton. We picked it up and then I went on to the barn, but it didn't rain after all.
Well, where was that barn? Because it's gone now.
It was torn down. It wasn't
Okay.
there.
So it was a big barn, a lot bigger than the little one that's
Oh, it
there.
was a huge barn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, huge, yeah, big barn.
Hmm.
And we would have, that's where we put our hay up in the loft of the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd gather our watermelons and just fill a section of it full of watermelons, and we'd eat them for months.
It sounds like you didn't have to go to any grocery store at all.
No, very
You
simple.
had your milk, you had your dairy, you had your vegetables, you had your fruit, you had that pear tree over there, apple trees. Did you have any other fruit trees there?
Had peach trees, and Dad raised some beautiful peaches.
Hmm.
And then we had lots of fruit. Blackberries, we'd make blackberries. Mom would can them and make blackberry pies. And,
Yum, sounds good.
eventually we raised our own sorghum cane, and we would carry it to a sorghum mill up above Hope's Bluff, and they would make sorghum. And we had our own syrup.
Great.
So that was good
You're
too.
self-sufficient.
We practically had it all, but those three items I mentioned: flour, sugar, and coffee.
Right. And then, well, you didn't have electricity for a
We
long
had
time.
no electricity.
And
And,
if young people today would hear this story and know that you didn't have a television, you didn't have a cell phone, no computers, no light bulbs,
We had no electricity, no running water, no indoor bathroom, and Dad went from the kerosene lamp to the Aladdin lamp, which was a big improvement. And then later on, some guys came in and wired our house, and we had electric lights.
Yeah, I think Millard had a picture of the lamps from Millard that Millard had. It said you did not get electricity until 1935,
I think that's
something
right.
like that.
Right, 27 to 35, I've been about 10 years old.
Hmm.
I mean, 8 years old.
Did you walk to school?
Pardon?
Did you walk to school?
Yeah. And we walked to school, in the mornings, and walked home in the afternoon, and I think it was a mile. And then later on in school, I rode the bus. They did have a bus coming up. And I remember one day that Martha, my sister, and Millard, my brother, we were down on the creek, and we had never heard a siren before. And we heard a siren coming through Hope's Bluff, coming our way, and it sounded like it was coming straight through the woods at us. And it scared us, and we started running to the house. And Martha and MF could outrun me. I was just little. I was trying to keep up. And they got to the hill. It sounded like that siren was getting closer and closer behind. And it was really whistling coming through those woods. And Martha and MF stopped and let me catch up. And a guy had a wreck right in front of the house and ran in a ditch, and it killed him.
Oh, I think that's this. Is that the same time that Millard talked about
Frank Ford.
Yes, right. That you had put gravel from the gravel pit out on the road,
Right.
and Millard thought it might have had something to do with the accident because the man skidded on the gravel, and he felt
it
really
did.
bad about that.
It was kindly a curve in the road on that hill, and he was going around that curve. Probably got in those loose gravels and slid around with him and went off in a big ditch.
So sad. How old a person was he?
I would think that he would have been probably 45, 50.
Well, you said his name was Ford. Was he related to your Aunt Edna?
No,
So it was a different Ford.
different Ford.
But Edna Ford was your aunt,
with our aunt.
and she used to be the principal
Yeah.
at Oaks Bluff High School.
Principal at Oaks Bluff.
Well, she was gone before I got there, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't. But she would come back for Teacher Appreciation Day, and I met her a couple of times. You know, she's a nice lady. Okay, well, let's take a break here, and we'll be back.
Okay.